Hi everyone, I'm Kurt. As you may have noticed, I'm a guy, but I have something from a girl. This is something that will surprise you greatly and from which will arise a lot of questions. To be honest, I had a lot of them myself when I saw this thing in my own place. Well, everything in order. First, I'll tell you more about myself. I have a family with me, an older brother, in addition to my parents. My brother hasn't lived with us for a long time because he's married and has his own family, and I'm younger and still haven't got out of the nest. My brother and I are different. He is more calm, likes quiet evenings, board games with children, heart to heart conversations over a cup of tea, and I always loved extreme sports. I was doing sports. I was pumping my body. I had a perfect six pack. The muscles on my arms were sticking out nicely from under my t-shirts. I was proud of my body, mainly because I am more like my father. My dad is also active, and my mother is modest and quiet. When summer comes, I will definitely be climbing mountains, swimming at speed on a scooter, sometimes racing by car. I'm a risk taker, and I think life is one, so you have to live it with emotions. Once, though, my recklessness almost killed me. In the middle of the holidays, the boys and I decided to go for fun on the boats. The weather was just awesome. We invited a few girls to relax with us. One of them I really liked, and I planned to hit on her that day. In general, the guys and I drank a little alcohol. Well, from somewhere came the courage, mixed feelings of extreme with reckless. The boat on which we rode, we had rented. Everything was great, from the mood to the water. At some point, when we were already pretty drunk, I asked the girl I liked to dance. Lola agreed immediately, and I realized that she had the same feelings for me. We held hands and danced to a cool slow dance, and I was happy. I looked into her eyes. She smiled at me, and I knew that now is a very important moment. She is waiting for my kiss. I leaned forward slightly and held my breath. At that moment, the boat lurched, and we lost our balance. Lola started to fall down, and I caught her arm. We were very scared, and the guys were too, and the panic started. One of the guys jumped right into the ocean, but suddenly I saw that another boat was coming at us. Dude, the driver lost control and it was heading straight for us. At that moment, I saw everything in slow motion. Lola and she was in the water, I was on the boat holding her hand, and a boat was moving towards us. And then once and for all, I lost consciousness. I came to myself only in the hospital. I don't know exactly how much time passed, but when I opened my eyes, my mouth was dry, and I didn't immediately know where I was or what I was doing. My mother and brother ran up to me. They began to calm me down, saying that everything was fine. When I was a little more recovered, I turned my head and saw that my right arm was bandaged, but the real panic started when I couldn't move it. The doctor came in and see the fear in my eyes, and he calmed me down and explained that we had been in a terrible accident. You and that girl Lola, you were holding hands when the boat hit you, so you lost both your hands. You're right, and she's left. We did the surgery and sewed them back on, the doctor said, as if he were talking about dolls instead of people. I began to be indignant. How did they come? Rejected? Are we dolls or something? I became hysterical, but my parents calmed me down. It wasn't until an hour later that I finally got the message that the doctors did it for a reason, but to save our hands. I was in a state of shock and didn't want to accept this information. It's good that I blacked out and don't remember what it felt like, and most importantly, I didn't see what it was like. Only after a while did I ask how Lola was doing. She, unlike me, did not lose consciousness and watched all this and endured the pain. She was given a lot of painkillers and sedatives. She was asleep at the time. After some time, I don't know exactly how long, I was finally told the good news. You can remove the stitches and see the result. In principle, I felt my hand. Of course it hurt, but everything is better than without it at all. It was an exciting moment. When the bandages were finally removed, the room was silent. I didn't look to my right, but the silence made me tense. I looked at the doctor and the nurse, saw the confusion on their faces, and lowered my eyes. What? What did you do to her? Why is my hand so thin? Why is it painted red? I shouted, as if scalded. I didn't understand why they had so disfigured her until I heard a scream from the other ward. Lola shouted the same words. Yes, as you guessed, we were sewn on the wrong hands. The doctors made a mistake and swapped our hands. This is such trash. Lola's tantrum was worse than mine, but she's a girl. We were still a long time to calm down, until the doctors again injected us with sedatives. After the chief physician came running to us, my mother's threats that she would sue them, he promised to resolve the issue quietly and peacefully at his own expense. But for this we will have to go back to the operating table. In the meantime, you need to take some time to get your muscles a little stronger, because the operation is not a joke. A day later, Lola and I met at the hospital to look at our hands, and she couldn't hold back her tears at the sight of hers. How many things she saw and remembered for the rest of her life. This boat ride will stay in her head forever. We somehow found words of support for each other, and then we had to live a little as the doctor ordered. It was terrible and ugly and strange to see yourself in the mirror with the woman's hand, and knowing that you can control it. Lola and I only saw each other to check on our limbs to see if they were all right, but man, you don't want an enemy to go through that. Lola and I tried to hide our hands as best we could. The school year has already started long ago. It's good that we went to different schools. I wore long sleeves and a glove on my hand to hide it. The doctors did everything they could to make sure I could manage it, but I would still have it. I didn't even mind the awful seam on my forearm anymore. We went through this for about a month, carefully hiding a part of ourselves, and waited impatiently for the second operation. I wasn't even afraid of the fact that my arm would have to be amputated. I was willing to have what was rightfully mine returned to me. Still, as the doctor promised, the operation was done. Everything went well. Of course, rehabilitation, medications, pain, and the desire to destroy the hospital were also present, but this time without any mistakes. Everything went fine. I'm still in the recovery phase with Lola. It should take time. It's good that we have it. Now I plan to invite Lola to a movie, but during this time we managed to become related to each other. We got as close as others cannot do it.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach, and now I will tell you about my special skin. To be more specific, how I get covered with snake skin and why. I have a little secret of youth. Everyone wants to look younger, be younger, feel the same. This is especially desirable for those who know the value of time, adults. People go to great lengths for the sake of positive changes in appearance. Someone does plastic surgery, someone is limited to creams, masks, someone is saved by sports, proper nutrition, someone has good genes. But all this is a temporary pleasure, and the effect is relatively good, but I would like more. So, we in the family all look fucking young. While not using cream, never had surgery in my life, do not play sports, and even eat junk food. We have a recipe that has been tested for generations. Do you want me to share it with you? The whole family is rejuvenated by snake skin. Yes, you heard right. Even as a child, I saw how deftly my father caught snakes. Since we live in Thailand, there is no shortage of them. As far as I remember, we even cooked and ate snakes at home. Of course, you need to know which ones are worth catching and which ones are not, who is poisonous and who is not. We have a special encyclopedia on snakes at home. From an early age, Dad taught us not to be afraid of snakes, to be able to catch them, to remove the skin without damaging it, and to cook and eat meat. Our mothers and grandmothers usually carefully cut the snake skin in half while it was fresh, covered their body with it, wiped the entire skin from head to toe, thus feeding it with snake vitamins. You know that snakes have the ability to shed, right? After you rub their skin, it's almost the same with people. Our family then shed the old skin and a new one appeared in its place. It wasn't really as bad as I just said. The effect was about the same as if you were burned in the sun. Plus, we deftly prepared snake meat, which is very useful for the body. It is somewhat similar to poultry meat, the same lean, but it is pleasant to eat, especially if you know that it brings double benefits for the stomach and body. We passed this secret down from generation to generation. Everyone envied us and was surprised, but we just looked cool and kept the recipe to ourselves. Of course, over time, rumors spread all over the country. The neighbors have long been used to us, but sometimes people came to see my 80-year-old grandmother, who looks 40. Not only did she have young skin, she was also toned and slim. This gave her even more youth. We even became a type of local tourist attraction. I have never smeared my skin on myself, because it was necessary to do it only after 25 years, when the cells in the body need support. Thousands of people came to us to ask for the recipe. Some even tried to get married or marry any family member so that we would dedicate them. Someone tried to give gold, money, and especially not calm down, threatened with violence. This, of course, was not serious. We lied to everyone that it was a matter of genes. But in fact, some of it really depended on our genes. As my grandmother told me, her ancestors looked beautiful even before the snakes. And only after many years they discovered this secret and began to maintain their beauty. To be honest, I couldn't understand why we shouldn't share this recipe with others, because it's a dream of any person to preserve health and youth, especially since it still doesn't help everyone and depends on the body. But my parents and grandmother were against it. They assured me that my ancestors had saved this information for me and my descendants, so I should keep it a secret, and I probably would have if I hadn't fallen in love. Yes, I had a girlfriend. Her name was Elsa. She was beautiful. I met her not so long ago when I was looking for snakes. It turns out that she and her parents moved to live in Thailand, and she was looking at the local nature. We quickly found a common language and interests. I asked her out that night, and she agreed. I had a romantic evening on the beach, a picnic on the warm white sand. Everything was great. After a few more dates, I decided to introduce her to my family. She was very surprised to see my grandmother. We are used to this reaction and did not betray the attention. My family liked Elsa, and our relationship grew stronger. We saw each other every day. Either she came to me or I came to her. We went surfing together, went for a walk. I taught her how to hunt snakes, then treated her to meat, showed her how to cover herself with skin, shared all the knowledge that my ancestors told me about youth. Elsa called me the best and said I was too kind to her. I just asked her to keep it a secret. But that didn't happen. It turns out that Elsa is not exactly who she claimed to be. It was sent by curious youth hunters. You know. I don't even know what upset me the most when I found out what she needed me for. That I told all the secrets, or that I fell in love like a stupid idiot. Elsa just waved at me one last time and ran away. And I stood like a statue and did not know what my family would say now. They didn't pat me on the head, of course. I listened to a lot of comments from my parents and grandmother, but in the end, there was nothing I could do. So I spread this method on the internet so that people would know about it firsthand. I'll tell you right away, do not wait for an instant effect. And not in any case, do not hunt snakes yourself. Because here you need a pro. Well, now that our family secret has been revealed, I want to say that after all, time does not deceive. Sooner or later, it will take its own. So don't waste it. Just be yourself. Well, we will get more snakes.